Hey everybody, this is Kodak here, and Nickelodeon just kind of dumped the first episode of Mysticons out on their website, just kind of out of the blue today. I don't know if it was to compete with the launch of the new Voltron season or what, but I'm going to be talking about the pilot episode and my opinions on it today. I took a bunch of notes. We'll be able to take a look. Now, I'm going to be going over the whole episode, so just spoiler warning now. You can watch the episode for free on nick.com before I get into anything. So if you want to do that before I get to talking, then I'd say go ahead and do it now. I've given you like a good solid 20 seconds of spoiler warning. So, a little bit of backstory. Mysticons is a series that they've actually been teasing since at least 2016. I remember seeing back at Toy Fair of last year, I mentioned it, they had like a picture with some silhouettes on it, and this year at Toy Fair, they had some toys to show off, but they didn't let us take any pictures of the inside of the booth, but they said nothing about the outside of the booth, so I snapped a picture of some production images they had on the outside of the booth, and I seem to have been the only person with the insight to do that, because I'm seeing that same picture circulated around a lot. So, anyway, Mysticons, it's a Nelvana series, also made by Topps Entertainment and worked on by Michael Eisner. Yeah, the Disney Michael Eisner. It's premiering on Nickelodeon and seems to be kind of following in the vein of a lot of other series like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ninjago, amongst others. Originally, it was conceived as a series about 4 boys, but got changed into a series about 4 girls. And my opinion on that kind of diversity is neutral. Changing diversity around for me is a completely neutral action. It depends entirely on what you do with it. Although, from what I've heard, the one where it was 4 boys was about a bunch of suburban LARPers. So, this might have actually been a change for the better. The idea of basically doing a girls' version of like Ninjago, Ninja Turtles, or anything like that, you know, I'm generally okay with. I mean, Sailor Moon is an all-girls version of Power Rangers, so it can work. So, getting into the pilot formally, the pilot starts off where we're in a somewhat futuristic city. Think Back to the Future, where we're going, we don't need roads. But the first thing, it actually kind of bugged me, because even though the cars are flying cars, they still have wheels like regular cars, and that actually kind of bugged me. It's like, if they can fly, why do they have wheels like that? That's just weird. I don't know if maybe like they ran out of time to animate it. It's like, hey, we're having trouble animating the cars, and somebody's like, oh, just make them fly to save time on that. That, I guess, might be an explanation, but when you think about it, all you have to do to create a flying car is just make something, you know, paint it yellow and throw a checkerboard on it, and people will be like, oh, that's a taxi, so this is what cars look like in this world. That's easy enough. Anyway, going on, we have our first 2 girls we meet. They are a couple of thieves whose names I've written down here. We have Zarya the thief, who is our obvious Rainbow Dash, Raphael, whatever, and Piper the Pinkie Pie, the elf. She's obviously Pinkie Pie. She is almost painfully Pinkie Pie. In fact, the fact that her name is Piper, like Pinkie Piper, kind of has a thing. So what they do is they basically pull a little hustle where they wind up shoplifting some candy bars, but apparently that's enough to get the attention of the Wicked Witch of the West, who is like, woo, you are the greatest thieves in all of the land, so I'm going to need you to steal the dragon disc from the royal family. You know, yeah, they stole some candy bars, so apparently that makes them legit able to apparently that's enough qualification to make them go and break into the most secure room in the entire country. You know, it's like saying, hey kid, good job stealing that Snickers. Now, could you go and grab the nuclear football for me? That would be great. And of course, in order to initially escape this this shoplifting, they did the BioShock skyhooking thing where they hang on to the monorail rails and go sliding down it, and, you know, I mean, I guess that's okay. So then then of course we have to take a quick look at the bad guys, and the bad guy is like, oh, we will get the dragon disc and take over, and the witch is like, not if I get it first. Anyway, moving on, we finally meet our main character, who is Princess Arcana, spelled with a Y, because of course it's spelled with a Y. And of course we gotta have a princess, and she's doing like Griffin training, and then there's her stepbrother who is like texting while griffining, and, you know, We gotta have that. And earlier, Piper literally said sad face emoji. I forgot to mention that. Piper literally said sad face emoji, and all I have to say is, too soon. Anyway, moving on. So, of course, then the princess is told about her mother, about the history of the dragon disc, which, now that I think about it, kind of sounds like something you'd put in, like, a merchandise-driven battle show. You know, go, dragon disc! But she's not quite our Twilight Sparkle. She's not as interested in study and things like that as Twilight Sparkle was, so I guess that gives her a bit of a quirk, or I guess makes her maybe a bit more like Leonardo. Then, you know, they leave the room, and apparently they say, oh, leave it up to the guards. Nobody enters this room because the disc, like, had a reaction to something. But, of course, it's our two thieves, Zarya and Piper, are the elite castle guards. You know, somehow they have replaced the most elite castle guards who protect the most important room in the realm, who would likely have been hand-picked and easily recognized if something was wrong, but whatever. And then suddenly... And then in comes Black Ken Masters, who's all like, Hadouken! And he blows the skeletons away, and then they run for it, and then we meet our villain, Dreadbane. Okay, with a name like Dreadbane, what else could he have become but, like, a Skeletor villain, you know? I mean, it might be kind of funny. I mean, we've had, like, Star versus the Forces of Evil, where the super nice-sounding character with a nice-sounding name is actually, you know, a total evil scumbag, but... wouldn't it be kind of funny to see it the other way around? Like if there was a character named like Baron Evil McDark the Third, who actually turned out to be like a really nice guy and a philanthropist, and he'd like willingly ferry the heroes around in his grandpa's flying evil doom castle, you know? That might actually be kind of funny. That's an angle that I don't think we've actually seen explored before. Like not in depth, like maybe as like a one-off joke, but that might actually be kind of funny. So our Dreadbane guy turns the queen and the guy from Voltron into stone, and then I think it might have been cooler if he turned him into skeleton warriors. But and the thing is, they give the mother statue like this actually kind of awkward and funny face, I guess, so you don't forget it, but it's unfortunately a little bit on the funny side, so I can't help but giggle a little bit when I see it. Anyway, so the thieves and the princess, while they're running from the skeleton warriors, they finally meet, and the dragon disc activates, and they become the Mysticons. And, you know, the dragon disc announces this, you know, like the dungeon master from D&D, you know, he names off their character classes.
Dragon Mage, Striker, Knight,
Ranger, Barbarian, Magician, Thief, Cavalier, and Acrobat.
It's not a very good party comp, though. They got 3 DPS and a tank with no healer. So they start fighting the bad guys, and the short girl who earlier hinted that she was a dwarf with a comment about mines reminds us, you know, she's a dwarf. Hey, guess what, guys? The dwarf girl is a dwarf. She's not a dwarf. She doesn't have a beard. So they start showing off their fancy powers, and Skeletor retreats, and then, of course, the thieves steal the dragon disc and run. Oh, yeah, there was still that whole plot point going on. So there's a chase scene where the princess grabs her griffin, and the thieves go skyhooking again. And the dwarf also discovers that she can do the Steven Universe bubble. And then, you know, after the thieves escape, they try to have, like, this heartfelt moment. It's like a 30-second long thing with a sad song, but it's completely destroyed by the fact that we get a close-up of the petrified mother's, like, really silly face. And I try. So the thieves, they go and meet up with the witch, who, of course, tries to kill them because I don't like having loose ends. And then the princess and the dwarf show up again because it turns out they'd hurled our Black Ken Masters had hurled a tracking spell on them, and they saved the day. And, of course, the thieves gave the witch a forgery because, of course, they did. But the witch is a ham. The witch is, I hope, like, the major antagonist who shows up the most, because she is very obviously our Skeletor, down to the dramatic no! You get this moment where you have the thieves and the princess and her attendant, you know, they're at odds with each other because, you know, basically, you know, on one hand, the princess sees these two characters as criminals who broke into her castle and stole things from her, and the the thieves, they see the princess as like this uppity rich girl who is basically part of the system that caused them to become so depressed. So that's nice and all, but then the very end of this episode takes this really strange swerve in tone, because all of a sudden it's all comedy and stuff like that, and our Black Ken Masters is all like, you gotta get along, but of course they won't, which causes wacky misadventures, and of course our Black Ken Masters is like, uh-oh, looks like the realm is doomed! So aside from that, like, whiplash, that tone whiplash at the end, it's actually a pretty solid pilot. There's a lot of pilots that either, like, that try to, like, cram in, like, everything at once, and we get things like Battle Claw, where we've met everybody and our hero has basically drawn Excalibur, like, no less than 6 minutes in, where they try to tell you every single detail, or, like, they try to cram in so much as once that they have to make a premiere movie. This episode, I think, does a much better job of it, because it's still the normal 22 minutes, but they actually not only tell you basically the bare bones of what you need to know. Sorry for another skeleton joke. But they actually managed to get through two plots. Like, I talked about how what was it? Jewel Pet Magical Change actually managed to have, like, a couple of plot lines tied together, and they managed to do that fairly well in this episode as well. The fact that the characters are kind of divvied up into groups that don't really get along, that gives room for growth potential that I hope they exploit fairly well. I hope they manage to avoid that sudden tonal jerk that they do at the end there. That they can avoid a lot of that. But overall, I think it's an okay episode. If you didn't watch it before now, hopefully I didn't spoil it enough that it won't work for you now. It'll be interesting to see what direction they take with it, because like I said, originally it was going to be about, like, 4 suburban LARPers. Come on, we have enough internet entertainment about LARPers. Thank you very much. But we'll just have to see. Apparently the toys should be coming out in spring, which means they'll probably be out for Christmas if we're lucky. I'll get in contact with Playmates and see if they'll see if they have any information on it, see if they'll toss me anything. If you want, I could try to talk about more of these. I might as well make this into a series. What did I just watch? Anyway, that's Mysticons for you, and until next time, this is Kodak signing off.